Coming up on UGTV, Standing Committee Meetings of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas. We begin with a meeting of the Public Works and Safety Standing Committee. This will be followed by the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee.
Yes.
Martley.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Viner.
Here. The first item is our approval of April 25 and May 23 meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is our committee agenda. We have a fiscal 16 JAG grant, and Angie Maslowski is coming forward to tell us about this award for, it looks like, police and sheriff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. Each year, the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, Sheriff's Department is awarded a formula grant for the Edward Byrne JAG funds. This year, we were awarded $102,314. Of that, the police department has requested $60,000 to use for miscellaneous training throughout the next 3 years. And the sheriff's department asked for the remaining $42,314 to purchase equipment for their department.
Any questions on this grant?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the clerk call the roll?
Roll call. Philbrook.
Yes.
Martley.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Viner.
Aye, and that motion carries. Thank you so much. Our next item is a conceal carry discussion, and we have Jenny Orth-Myers and Renee coming forward with HR to lead kind of this conversation about, we just want to have a little bit further discussion about our conceal carry that had to go into effect, I think, July 1.
It was July 1st. We were here, Renee and I were here about a month ago and made the suggested changes to the violence in the workplace policy, and that was basically because of state law, and that went into effect July 1st. At the June 30th hearing, you asked to come back for further discussion as to discipline and what action would be taken for violations of that. What we've brought today is a suggested change to a different policy, and that would be the 7.1 rules and discipline. So there's a separate entire policy for discipline, and our change, not for today, but we would like to come back to you once we've worked this out and make changes to that policy, which includes violations of the violence in the workplace. And I'll let Renee talk a little bit more about that.
So what we plan to do is we've identified some policy violations, and we're planning to establish a policy review committee to go over and figure out for the violation what is going to be the proposed discipline that we're going to impose on an employee. And so we're going to be adding that to the rules and discipline. Possible members of this committee would be members, of course, representatives from Human Resources, County Administration, Legal, Building Security. So we're trying to identify some key stakeholders on who would participate in this committee, and we would come together to figure out the discipline that's going to be imposed, for these particular violations that are listed in the violence-free workplace policy.
Any comment, Commissioner?
So I was sort of the one that brought this up, and we were eager to get the policy in place before July 1st. So after we passed it, I started sort of thinking about it, and I thought, this is the type of policy that some of our employees could be very concerned about, and it could make them feel not very safe, even if we're using the policy the way we should be, just because some people don't like guns in the workplace or don't want to be around guns. And so I thought, how can we make sure that our employees know that if somebody does something egregious, they're going to be disciplined accordingly. And in some ways, I don't really think our employees are going to go around pulling their guns out, but in some ways, this is just to send a message that if you pull your gun out in the workplace, you're going to be terminated. So that we're sending that strong message of, we want you to know how we feel about this and how we feel about keeping our employees safe. So I'm fine with your committee idea. I think that's great. I want us to get to a point where we know what are those less egregious errors. Like we talked about the printing, I think, as an example. If your shirt's a little too thin and you can see the gun, obviously that's one thing. If you pull the gun out and you're showing it to people or threatening someone with it, clearly that's another. So I'm happy with making that delineation. I'm happy with letting the committee do that, but that's why I wanted it to come back to this committee, because I just want to make sure we're sending the right message to our employees that want to carry guns and to our employees that don't want to be around guns about how we're going to handle those more egregious violations.
Thank you. Anyone else on the issue? Commissioner Johnson?
I'd also like to see some comparative data as to what other municipalities are doing of like size and maybe urban communities. Not to say that I would like to copy anyone, but I just wanted to see from a comparative perspective what other municipalities are doing relative to the new laws that are taking place right now.
Thank you. That's a great idea. Anybody else on the topic? This is not an action item. We just wanted to hear from the two of you basically about how you were going to move forward with possibly dealing with the policy issues. So
will that committee's recommendations then come back here again?
Yes.
And it'll be a change to 7.1,
Okay.
and so we'll do just like we did with the other one and come back and tell you our proposed changes.
do you have any notion of a time frame on how long that might take?
I'm hoping that we can come back sometime next month
Oh, okay.
with the draft.
Great. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
We only have one other item on this Public Works and Safety agenda, and that is under our public agenda. We have Mr. Charles R. Thomas requesting to speak to this committee about the monthly fees for stormwater management. Mr. Thomas, are you here? Please come to the microphone. You will have 3 minutes. And thank you for coming.
Commissioners, important people, $4.50. 200 tons of gravel, quite a lot of my backyard, and it's still leaving. That's stormwater management to me. You did it. You drove so hard to push, utilities out to the Golden Ghetto. You came through my neighborhood like a storm and left a mess. Here's the kicker. I'm a quarter mile from the lake. So that's where all the silt goes. And it come off your projects. This lake's been there 75 years. I'd like to see it there 75 more years. Nothing you're building out there, and sorry, Commissioner, your Golden Ghetto is going to be there in 75 years. Those companies will be gone. I'd like to see the lake still be there. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, and I wanted to let you know that later on in the fall, we're going to discuss further among the full commission all the fees that are charged, including stormwater fees, and we would appreciate it if you might want to come back and join us at that time and hear those discussions and any further input that you might have.
Well, for me, it's kind of like insult on injury.
No, I understand, but I appreciate that you've taken the time to come and speak
at
with
least
us.
come out and do some
Absolutely.
maintenance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There is no other action in front of this board, in front of this committee, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned, and we will just move right into Administration and Human Services.
Yes, I will now call this meeting of the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee to order. I want to welcome everyone to this meeting. Public comment is welcome. Anyone wishing to speak on any item on the Standing Committee agenda may do so when the item is up for discussion. Everyone, please use your microphone. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Roll call. Filbert,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Kane,
Here.
Bynum,
Here.
Markley.
Here. We are next asking for approval of the April 25th and May 23rd
Move
meetings.
for approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We do have a blue sheet associated with our Administration and Human Services Committee meeting. We'll actually handle that blue sheet as item number, we'll make it item number 3 under the committee agenda. So we'll handle all 3 Hollywood Casino grant items together. Our blue sheet item is another Hollywood Casino grant extension request related to the Von Trent Community Services Inc. So we'll handle that in order with the other 3. So we will move right into those. By the way, I don't have a guide today, so I'm just winging it. If it looks like I'm winging it, I'm winging it. Joe Connor is going to speak with us about these 3 Hollywood Casino grant extension requests. And as I said, we'll handle those sort of one right after another in order to have some continuity.
Okay, and to further confuse you, I'd like to start with item number 2 first. The real number 2 that's printed.
Sure.
Okay?
With me is Mario Escobar, the Executive Director for Argentine Betterment Corporation, and he had made a request to, for a little over $5,000 that basically he just didn't get spent by the end of our grant period. The expenses are totally appropriate. We're within his budget from the beginning. Just need a little extra time to spend them, so.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call on the motion.
Roll call. Philbrook,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Markley.
Aye. So that was item 2. Are we going to go to item 3 or the blue sheet or item 1 next?
Well, item number 1, Marilyn Alstrom emailed me today and said she would be here. I don't see her here at this point, so we could discuss 3 and then maybe come
Yep.
back to number 1.
Go ahead and do
Give
the
her-
blue
give her-
sheet and then we'll,
Give her time to
Yep.
show up. So the blue sheet item is an extension request from Von Trent Community Services. Again, similar to what the ABC was wanting. They just, they got started a little late with their grant year. They've hit their stride, but they just want to be able to spend their money past the grant year, the
Move
grant
for
period for
approval.
2015.
we have a motion and a second. Roll call on the motion.
Before you do the roll call, I just want to clarify. She's asked for a 16 extension 2, and I'm not recommending that. I'd like to talk with her at the 6-month period to see where they're at with this particular grant year and then come back with a second request if they need it. So this is just for the 2015 grant only.
Commissioner Kane, is your motion just
fine.
for 2015? Second? Okay. Roll call on the motion.
Roll call. Philbrook,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Thanks for clarification on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll leave it up to, if you want to talk about that, Commissioner.
Yeah, and here's the issue. General Motors donated some money to the Piper School District. I don't know, it was not Tri-County, Eastern Kansas that I know of. And the special events, I don't know about that. And it's also, you know, I have more questions than answers, so I don't want to hold anything off. Joe, if you and I can sit down and talk to her and clarify that, I'm fine with that.
As I understood it, didn't she send us a letter talking about the fact that because of how many people were involved in this, how many moving parts there were, that it delayed the opportunity to even start doing anything because they didn't have the study done or
Well,
the plans done yet?
And 2 of them may have gotten in an argument.
Okey dokey.
Well, I think if you look at her letter that's attached, this is basically she's claiming it's a $400,000 project.
It is a $400,000 project.
And so this is about a little less than 25,000 of her 400. So she hasn't spent any of it while she's continuing to do additional fundraising, try to make this project a reality.
Yeah,
Right.
because she has to have a certain amount of money to pull in some other grants.
Right.
For matching.
The way,
Doesn't she?
yeah, right. If she gets X amount of money, then there'll be a grant, and there'll be some other stuff, but when you're talking, General Motors didn't donate money. General Motors is talking about having a memorial golf tournament out there, which would generate that amount of money, but they haven't done it because of General Motors has its own politics. Can you believe that?
No.
Anyway, Joe, if you and I can sit down and talk to her and clarify some of this, that'd be fine.
So does that mean you want to put it off still, or should we?
Well, I guess we can vote on it and go ahead and push it forward, but I want clarification with her on some of the stuff that's on here.
So I would be willing to make a motion to approve the request,
Right.
extension, pending
Right.
your conversation.
Because I just need to clarify some
I
stuff.
am totally
And
understand.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Okay.
So pending conversation
Pending
between
a
Commissioner
a
Kane
satisfactory
and the
conversation.
organization
with-
itself.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just more of a clarification than anything
Yeah.
else.
So
Okay.
second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Filbert,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane,
All right.
Bynum,
Aye.
Markley.
Aye. That concludes our casino grant items, and now we have an update on digital billboards and small board removal, and Rob Richardson is going to speak with us about that.
Thank you, Commissioners. I guess about this time last year, you all adopted a revision to the digital billboard ordinance that allowed for digital billboards provided that they took down other billboards in the community in exchange for the new digital face. So we have 7 new digital billboard faces operating at 6 locations. One of them is double-sided. The code requires 2 times the new face size removal for small boards, and that's so if it's not an existing great big highway billboard, then they have to take down double the sign face and square footage. And if they're taking down a regular highway billboard, they only have to take down 1.5 times that much space. So we had 64 signs removed on 31 structures, totaling over 12,000 square feet of old billboards removed. Slightly more area than was required has been removed, and I've allowed them to bank that towards the future removal. I thought it would be wise for them to go ahead and take down the old boards that we don't like, and give them that extra incentive. We have received all the required affidavits of removal, so all the signs are down, and we consider this process successful and complete. I've got a couple of maps. One of them doesn't have street names on it. The first one doesn't have the street names, but it gives you an idea of where they are. Where's the... Oh, that's not the right button. I'll get rid of that. Sorry.
Are these only the billboards that have been removed, or
Well, if I could get this thing to go off the middle. Can you? I got the. Okay. Here, put it on the paper. Okay, so on this slide, this is the eastern portion of the community, and we have 635, I-70, parallel, state. This is 18th Street, I-35 at the bottom. The blue triangles are existing boards. The green stars are where the new digital billboards were located, and the red boxes indicate locations where the old boards were removed. And in some cases, you don't see all of the boards because they're stacked on top of each other, because some locations had 4, 6, or 8 of them in one location. But you see the general vicinities where these where they occurred, and you'll notice that there is still quite a few urban billboard locations around in the central core of the city, but many were removed, including some of the ones that were on the most obnoxious list. So then if we go to the next slide, you can see all of the street names, so they kind of hide the other things. If you have particular questions, I have the full data set with me, and we could go through those. But like I said, I think the ordinance did what it was intended to do, and we have some new digital billboards that are functioning, and we have a lot of old billboards that weren't well maintained that are gone.
Commissioner Bynum.
Can you refresh our memories? Maybe you told us this last year. Did the billboards come down at their expense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Philbrook.
I have 2 really nasty looking billboards at 59th on the south side that state. They are raunchy. I was surprised when I saw that they were still standing, because you did remove the ones that were just a little bit further east on the north side.
Well, these were all done at the discretion of the companies. We did not have.
But I
any
mean,
input in
these are
that.
really raunchy, and don't we have codes that tells them they have to keep them painted and kept up?
Yes, we do. I'll convey
Well,
that to the
then,
codes
guess
department.
what?
I will convey that to codes.
Thank you very much, because they are nasty looking. On a beautiful street we have called State Avenue, and we got those things sitting there.
Are they on the north or south side of? State?
South side, sir, 59th, just east of 59th Street.
Okay.
Two of them, thanks.
Any additional questions for Mr. Richardson? This is not an action item. And I believe this is our final item on the agenda. So if there are no further questions, we are adjourned. We will be back here at 6:10. All right, we'll be back here at 6:10 for our budget workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.